Good morning, or good afternoon, depending on what part of the country you're joining us from. Coach Kevin here, and we are going to go ahead and get started. First thing I'd like to do is go ahead and share my screen with you and point out some things if you're brand new with us, or maybe you're watching this later on as a recording. I want to point out that we have a Facebook group that coincides with our meetup group. It has the same name. I want to be really rich, and I do not apologize for it. So that's the name of our Facebook group, and we ask that you come join us. Just go into your Facebook profile, look for where it says search Facebook, and type in, I want to be really rich, and I do not apologize for it. And you'll find our group. Come ask to join us, and we'll be happy to have you. The other way you could find us is to go directly to facebook.com/groups/ I want to be really rich as one word. So why might you want to join us? Well, a few different reasons. Reason number one, if we have any special announcements, usually we'll have that pinned to the top for the group. The other reason is, as long as I remember, and I typically do, to hit record for our Zoom meetings, I go ahead and record them. And then as you can see here, there's 2/8/2021. Oh, wow, that was yesterday, right? What I do is either the same day or the next morning, I try and get them posted into the group. That way, if you attend a meeting and you really like it and you want to review it again, you can. Or let's say, for instance, that you're with us Monday, Tuesday, for some reason, Wednesday, you can't make it, and you're with us Thursday on Friday. Well, you can obviously go back to Wednesday and watch it and get caught up with us and stay following along with what we're doing. So the other thing is, from time to time, people maybe wanted to ask some questions or have something come up outside of the 45 minutes or so we have together each day, and they might ask those questions in here, particularly if it's related to the material. All right, so that's why you would want to come join us. The next thing I want to point out to you right now is what we're in the process of going through. So we've been going since November 5th, every Monday through Friday, even the holidays. There's only one day in that entire time that we weren't together, and that's because I had a family obligation that I couldn't rearrange, which I think that's okay once in a while. So now it's been 3+ months, and I think I've missed one day. Well, no, I know I've only missed one day. So, and when I say missed, we just didn't have it that day. We just caught back up the next day. But what I'm getting at is, even during the holidays, we kept going. And interestingly enough, we actually had a really good turnout, surprisingly, through Thanksgiving and Christmas. So you guys must really like what we're doing to show up, which, by the way, if you're brand new, you will find that out as we go along. But you will find that we have people that are coming back almost every single day because they like what we're doing. We are currently in the process of going through a book. This book is called The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Skovel Shinn. I typed that in and looked for it, and guess what I found? I found a copy of it, a free ebook version of it. I actually happen to own this on Kindle. I also own it on Audible, so I can either read it or listen to it, which I've done both. I've read it in the last probably year to 2 years. I've probably read it 4 or 5 different times. It is really good, or else I wouldn't be sharing it with you and we wouldn't be going through it. But I'd like to see if I can find a free copy so that you can get one and follow along with us. So I went ahead and chose this one. I looked at others. I liked this one. When I came and clicked that onto that, what happened is this is what popped up for me. And then I scrolled down to the bottom and I just hit PDF. And then what popped up for me was this. Now it actually popped up on page 1. Okay, not on page 18. Page 18 just happens to be where we are right now. But it popped up for me on page 1. And I didn't have to go put an email address or name or anything like that. And so this is what popped up. Then I just used my download function and added it to my laptop. And you could do the same thing to your phone or your desktop, your laptop, whatever it is that you're using. Get your own copy. It's highly suggested, is a good idea. However, if you don't choose to do that or don't want to do it, excuse me, right this minute, that's okay because you can how to follow along. Got a little bit tongue tied there. You can follow along because I'm going to continue to share my screen right now. What we're going to do is continue on where we left off yesterday. I will do some reading. I will add commentary where I feel it's appropriate or helpful. And then you guys, by the way, those of you who are wondering if there's any interaction because you're new, absolutely 100%. We usually take 10 to 15 minutes or so when we're going towards the end, and we come out of screen share and then we go into our sharing function, which would be to come off mute and share what you want to share, ask whatever questions you want to ask. I bring that up right now though, because if you're going into chat, I just want you to understand that I'm not paying any attention to chat right now, okay? Matter of fact, I don't typically use chat much when we're doing this. Some of you guys chat back and forth with each other, but I tend not to because I'm focused on helping you guys get as much as you can out of this. And I'm trying to benefit the entire group. And it's a little tougher to do if I'm sitting around chatting at the same time. Okay. So I'm going to get a sip of water and I'm just going to jump on in and start moving forward where we left off yesterday. Okay, the power of the word. And by the way, this book was written a while ago, and Florence has since passed. So just want you to understand that it may not be exactly as modern as what the writings we're used to. Hold on a second, I lost my. Here we go. Lost where we were. So if she speaks a little differently, that's because she's older than we are. Okay. The power of the word. By thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. A person knowing the power of the word becomes very careful of his conversation. He has only to watch the reaction of his words to know that they do not return void. Through his spoken word, man is continually making laws for himself. I knew a man who said, I always miss a car. It invariably pulls out just as I arrive. His daughter said, I always catch a car. It's sure to come just as I get there. This occurred for years. Each had made a separate law for himself or herself, one of failure, one of success. This is the psychology of superstitions. The horseshoe or rabbit's foot contains no power, but man's spoken word and belief that it will bring him good luck creates expectancy in the subconscious mind and attracts a lucky situation. I find, however, this will not work when man has advanced spiritually and knows a higher law. One cannot turn back and must put away graven images. For example, 2 men in my class had had great success in business for several months when suddenly everything went to smash. We tried to analyze the situation, and I found instead of making their affirmations and looking to God for their success and prosperity, they had each bought a lucky monkey. I said, oh, I see. You've been trusting in the lucky monkeys instead of God. Put away the lucky monkeys and call on the law of forgiveness. For man has power to forgive or neutralize his mistakes. I love this, guys. Okay. This is true. This is why if things aren't going the way you want and you made a mistake, or even if you through the wrong vibration purposely did something, you can fix it. Put away the lucky monkeys, okay, and call on the law of forgiveness. For man has power to forgive or neutralize his mistakes. They decided to throw the lucky monkeys down a coal hole, and all went well again. This does not mean, however, that one should throw away every lucky ornament or horseshoe about the house. But here she must recognize that the power back of it is the one and only power, God, and that the object simply gives him a feeling of expectancy. I was with a friend one day who was in deep despair. In crossing the street, she picked up a horseshoe. Immediately, she was filled with joy and hope. She said God had sent her the horseshoe in order to keep up her courage. It was indeed, at that moment, about the only thing that could have registered in her consciousness. Her hope became faith, and she ultimately made a wonderful demonstration. I wish to make the point clear that the men previously mentioned were depending on the monkeys alone, while the woman recognized the power back of the horseshoe. I know in my own case, it took a long while to get out of a belief that a certain thing brought disappointment. If the thing happened, disappointment invariably followed. I found the only way I could make a change in the subconscious was by asserting there are not two powers, there's only one power, God. Therefore, there are no disappointments, and this thing means a happy surprise. I noticed a change at once, and happy surprises commenced coming my way. I have a friend who said nothing could induce her to walk under a ladder. I said, if you are afraid, you are giving in to a belief in two powers, good and evil, instead of one. As God is absolute, there can be no opposing power, unless man makes the false of evil for himself. To show you believe in only one power, God, and that there is no power or reality in evil, walk under the next ladder you see. Soon after, she went to her bank. She wished to open her box in the safety deposit vault, and there stood a ladder on her pathway. It was impossible to reach the box without passing under the ladder. She quailed with fear and turned back. She could not face the lion on her pathway. However, when she reached the street, my words rang in her ears, and she decided to return and walk under it. It was a big moment in her life, for ladders had held her in bondage for years. She retraced her steps to the vault, and the ladder was no longer there. This so often happens. If one is willing to do the thing he is afraid to do, he does not have to. It is the law of non-resistance, which is so little understood. Someone has said that courage contains genius and magic. Face a situation fearlessly, and there is no situation to face. It falls away of its own weight. The explanation is that fear attracted the ladder on the woman's pathway, and fearlessness removed it. Thus, the invisible forces are ever working for man, who is always pulling the strings himself, though he does not know it. Owing to the vibratory power of words, whatever a man voices, he begins to attract. People who continually speak of disease invariably attract it. After man knows the truth, he cannot be too careful of his words. For example, I have a friend who often says on the phone, "Do come to see me and have a fine old-fashioned chat." This old-fashioned chat means an hour of about 500 to 1,000 destructive words. The principal topics being loss, lack, failure, and sickness. I reply, "No, I thank you. I've had enough old-fashioned chats in my life. They are too expensive. But I will be glad to have a new-fashioned chat and talk about what we want, not what we don't want." There is an old saying that man only dares use his words for three purposes: to heal, bless, or prosper. Let me repeat that. There is an old saying that man only dares use his words for three purposes: to heal, bless, or prosper. What man says of others will be said of him, and what he wishes for another, he is wishing for himself. Curses like chickens come home to roost. If a man wishes someone bad luck, he is sure to attract bad luck himself. If he wishes to aid someone to success, he is wishing and aiding himself to success. The body may be renewed and transformed through the spoken word, and clear vision and disease be completely wiped out of the consciousness. The metaphysician knows that all disease has a mental correspondence, and in order to heal the body, one must first heal the soul. The soul is the subconscious mind, and it must be saved from wrong thinking. In the 23rd Psalm, we read, "He restoreth my soul." This means that the subconscious mind or soul must be restored with the right ideas. And the mystical marriage is the marriage of the soul and the spirit, or the subconscious and the superconscious mind. They must be one. When the subconscious is flooded with the perfect ideas of the superconscious, God and man are one. I and my Father are one. That is, he is one with the realm of perfect ideas. He is the man made in God's likeness and image, imagination, and is given power and dominion over all created things, his mind, body, and affairs. It is safe to say that all sickness and unhappiness come from the violation of the law of love. A new commandment I give unto you, love one another. And in the game of life, love or goodwill takes every trick. For example, a woman I know had for years an appearance of a terrible skin disease. The doctors told her it was incurable, and she was in despair. She was on the stage, and she feared she would soon have to give up her profession, and she had no other means of support. She, however, procured a good engagement, and on the opening night, made a great hit. She received flattering notices from the critics and was joyful and elated. The next day, she received a notice of dismissal. A man in the cast had been jealous of her success and had caused her to be sent away. She felt hatred and resentment taking complete possession of her, and she cried out, "Oh God, don't let me hate that man." That night she worked for hours in the silence. She said, "I soon came into a very deep silence. I seemed to be at peace with myself, with the man, and with the whole world. I continued this for 2 following nights. And on the 3rd day, I found I was healed completely of the skin disease." In asking for love or goodwill, she had fulfilled the law, for love is the fulfilling of the law, and the disease, which came from subconscious resentment, was wiped out. Continual criticism produces rheumatism, as critical and harmonious thoughts cause unnatural deposits in the blood, which settle in the joints. False growths are caused by jealousy, hatred, unforgiveness, fear, etc. Every disease is caused by a mind not at ease. I said once in my class, there is no use asking anyone what's the matter with you. We might just as well say, who's the matter with you? Unforgiveness is the most prolific cause of disease. It will harden arteries or liver and affect the eyesight. In its train are endless ills. I called on a woman one day who said she was ill from having eaten a poisoned oyster. I replied, "Oh, no, the oyster was harmless. You poisoned the oyster. What's the matter with you?" She answered, "Oh, about 19 people." She had quarreled with 19 people and had become so inharmonious that she attracted the wrong oyster. Inharmony on the external indicates there is mental inharmony. As the within, so the without. Man's only enemies are within himself, and a man's foes shall be they of his own household. Personality is one of the last enemies to be overcome, as this planet is taking its initiative in love. It was Christ's message, peace on earth, goodwill towards man. The enlightened man, therefore, endeavors to perfect himself upon his neighbor. His work is with himself, to send out goodwill and blessings to every man. And the marvelous thing is that if one blesses a man, he has no power to harm him. For example, a man came to me asking to treat for success in business. He was selling machinery. And a rival appeared on the scene with what he proclaimed was a better machine, and my friend feared defeat. I said, "First of all, we must wipe out all fear and know that God protects your interests, and that the divine idea must come out of the situation. That is, the right machine will be sold by the right man to the right man." And I added, "Don't hold one critical thought toward that man. Bless him all day, and be willing not to sell your machine if it isn't the divine idea." So he went to the meeting, fearless and non-resistant, and blessing the other man. He said the outcome was very remarkable. The other man's machine refused to work, and he sold his without the slightest difficulty. "But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which spitefully use you and persecute you." Goodwill produces a great aura of protection about the one who sends it, and no weapon that is formed against him shall prosper. In other words, love and goodwill destroy the enemies within oneself. Therefore, one has no enemies on the external. There is peace on earth for him who sends goodwill to men. Okay. We're going to continue on. I'm not sure if we'll do the whole chapter or not, but we're going to go on for a little bit. The law of non-resistance. Resist not evil, be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Nothing on earth can resist an absolutely non-resistant person. The Chinese say that water is the most powerful element because it is perfectly non-resistant. It can wear away a rock and sweep all before it. Jesus Christ said, resist not evil, for he knew in reality there is no evil, therefore nothing to resist. Evil has come of man's vain imagination or a belief in two powers, good and evil. There is an old legend that Adam and Eve ate of the Maya, the tree of illusion, and saw two powers instead of one power, God. Therefore, evil is a false law man has made for himself through psychoma or soul sleep. Soul sleep means that a man's soul has been hypnotized by the race belief of sin, sickness, and death, etc., which is carnal or mortal thought, and his affairs have outpictured his illusions. We have read in a preceding chapter that man's soul is his subconscious mind, and whatever he feels deeply, good or bad, is outpictured by that faithful servant. And outpictured means it actually manifests on the outside, okay? It manifests in our physical realities. His body and affairs show forth what he has been picturing. The sick man has pictured sickness, the poor man poverty, the rich man wealth. People often say, why does a little child attract illness when it is too young even to know what it means? I answer that children are sensitive and receptive to the thoughts of others about them, and often outpicture the fears of their parents. This is really important to understand, especially for those of us that are parents, okay? Let's go with that again. People often say, why does a little child attract illness when it is too young even to know what it means? I answer that children are sensitive and receptive to the thoughts of others about them. Their subconscious mind is wide open when they're that young, and often outpicture the fears of their parents. And outpicture means manifests, okay? I heard a metaphysician once say, if you do not run your subconscious mind yourself, someone else will run it for you. Think about that. If you do not run your subconscious mind yourself, someone else will run it for you. You have to decide what goes in. Mothers often unconsciously attract illness and disaster to their children by continually holding them in thoughts of fear and watching for symptoms. For example, a friend asked a woman if her little girl had had the measles. She promptly replied, "Not yet." This implied that she was expecting the illness and therefore preparing the way for what she did not want for herself and child. However, the man who is centered and established in right thinking, the man who sends out only goodwill to his fellow man, and who is without fear, cannot be touched or influenced by the negative thoughts of others. In fact, he could then receive only good thoughts, as he himself sends forth only good thoughts. Resistance is hell, for it places man in a state of torment. Let me repeat that. Resistance is hell, for it places a man in a state of torment. A metaphysician once gave me a wonderful recipe for taking every trick in the game of life. It is the acme of non-resistance. He gave it in this way. At one time in my life, I baptized children, and of course, they had many names. Now I no longer baptize children, but I baptize events. But I give every event the same name. If I have a failure, I baptize it success in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Ghost. In this, we see the great law of transmutation founded on non-resistance. Through a spoken word, every failure was transmuted into success. For example, a woman who required money and who knew the spiritual law of opulence was thrown continually in a business way with a man who made her feel very poor. He talked lack and limitation, and she commenced to catch his poverty thoughts. So she disliked him and blamed him for her failure. She knew in order to demonstrate her supply, she must first feel that she had a feeling of opulence. Received. A feeling of opulence must precede its manifestation. It dawned upon her one day that she was resisting the situation and seeing two powers instead of one. So she blessed the man and baptized the situation success. She affirmed, as there's only one power, God, this man is here for my good and my prosperity. Just what he did not seem to be there for. Soon after she met, or soon after that she met through this man, a woman who gave her for a service rendered several $1,000s. And the man moved to a distant city and faded harmoniously from her life. So, but this didn't happen. So this man that was such a thorn in her side, so she thought, only was because of her thinking. And as soon as she changed her thinking towards him, this man introduced her to someone else. And that someone else gave her thousands of dollars for her service. And then the man moved on to a distant city and faded harmoniously from her life. Make the statement, every man is a golden link in the chain of my good, or every person. For all men are God in manifestation, awaiting the opportunity given by man himself to serve the divine plan of his life. Bless your enemy, and you rob him of his ammunition. His arrows will be transmuted into blessings. Let me repeat that. Bless your enemy, and you rob him of his ammunition. His arrows will be transmuted into blessings. This law is true of nations as well as individuals. Bless a nation, send love and goodwill to every inhabitant, and it is robbed of its power to harm. Man can only get the right idea of non-resistance through spiritual understanding. My students have often said, I don't want to be a doormat. Stephanie, I don't know if you're on right now, but we were talking about this a week or two ago. My students have often said, I don't want to be a doormat. I replied, when you use non-resistance with wisdom, no one will ever be able to walk over you. Another example, one day I was impatiently awaiting an important telephone call. I resisted every call that came in and made no outgoing calls myself, reasoning that it might interfere with the one I was awaiting. So this is Florence talking about what she did, okay? Another example, one day I was, impatiently, resistance, bad feelings, bad thoughts, bad vibes, impatiently awaiting an important telephone call. I resisted every call that came in and made no outgoing calls myself, reasoning that it might interfere with the one I was awaiting. Instead of saying divine ideas never conflict, the call will come at the right time, leaving it to infinite intelligence to arrange, I commenced to manage things myself. I made the battle mine, not God's, and remained tense and anxious. The bell did not ring for about an hour, and I glanced at the phone and found the receiver had been off that length of time and the phone was disconnected. My anxiety, fear, and belief in interference had brought on a total eclipse of the telephone. Realizing what I had done, I commenced blessing the situation. So this is the law of forgiveness. Realizing what I had done, I commenced blessing the situation at once. I baptized its success and affirmed, I cannot lose any call that belongs to me by divine right. I am under grace and not under law. So it's the grace that actually overcomes the law. That's the forgiveness. A friend rushed out to the nearest telephone to notify the company to reconnect. She entered a crowded grocery, but the proprietor left his customers and attended to the call himself. My phone was connected at once, and 2 minutes later, I received a very important call, and about an hour afterward, the one I had been awaiting. Once ships come in over a calm sea. Takir is starting to learn this, if you're here with us. Once ships come in over a calm sea. So long as man resists the situation, he will have it with him. If he runs away from it, it will run after him. For example, I repeated to this woman one day, and she replied, "How true that is. I was unhappy at home. I disliked my mother, who is critical and domineering. So I ran away and was married. But I married my mother, for my husband was exactly like my mother, and I had the same situation to face again. Agree with thine adversary quickly. That means agree that the adverse situation is good. Be undisturbed by it, and it falls away of its own weight. None of these things move me is a wonderful affirmation. The harmonious situation comes from some inharmony within man himself. Where there is in him no emotional response to an inharmonious situation, it fades away forever from his pathway. So we see man's work is ever with himself." Okay, where are we on time? I'm going to do my best to remember we're on 27. We're going to go ahead and stop there so that we have time to share and ask questions. And awesome, awesome, awesome. Looks like we've been joined by more people. Grateful and happy to have all of you with us that are with us right now. And it appears to me that everybody that is here has been with us at least once before, if not more often than that. So I'm going to share something right now. I know I don't go into chat typically, but I do have something specific that I would like everybody to read. So I'm going to share it with you guys. So take a moment to go into chat, particularly you, Lillian, specifically you, Lillian. Please go into chat and read what I said. I'll give everybody a moment or two to read that, because it could apply to you too. So I'm going to go ahead with the normal sharing. And then at the very end, for those of you that are interested, I'm going to share something in relationship to creative financing. So something that you guys might be able to use for yourself if you truly would like to become a group coaching client. It is something that God shared with me today, and so I came up with a way to hopefully explain it to you guys that will make sense and maybe make things a little bit easier for some of you. And for those of you that aren't interested in that, that's fine. But I think several of you it might be helpful for. So now is the time. You guys already know the drill. Now is the time that you guys can share. And this is also the time for you to ask questions. And definitely it was really, really cool and fun when you guys were sharing all those different experiences you've had in relationship to manifesting things in your life that have been cool. And some of you guys have been around with us for nearly 3 months, or for 3 months or longer, because we started November 5th, and shared kind of what this has meant to you and what it's done for you. So anything that you would like to share, or any questions that you would like to ask in relationship to attracting more money and wealth into your life, or things that we've been studying over the past 3 months, feel free to share at this time. Thank you.
So this is Francine.
Hi, Francine.
Hey, so I have something to share and I need help with it.
Oh, okay.
So basically, as you all know, I was skiing last week, and at one point Thursday evening, we had a group dinner, the club dinner, and anyway, I ended up in the gondola with these people who started talking politics, and we were not on the same page, and they basically became very I was the only one with my opinion, and they became very nasty with me and disrespectful and accusing me of all kinds of things. So, since then it seems that I've had one negative thing happen after the other. Like this morning I went to play golf, and there was this lady that would, every time I go to tee off or to hit the ball, she would talk loud, and or she would be humming, which is something you really don't want people to do around you when you're playing golf.
Sure.
So, and I'm trying to get rid of this, and I'm thinking this has been going on since Thursday night, and I'm just don't know how to shake it off.
Okay.
And what we read today kind of touched a little bit of that.
It told you exactly what to do. Bless the people, bless the situation, and focus on what it is that you want going forward, and ask for the healing and for the success of it. And those people will either be easier to deal with or they'll disappear.
Well, what I did this morning, and I just decided to come back home
Yeah, you can do that too.
because I was aggravated to the point that I couldn't play anymore.
Uh-huh.
I guess at that time I should have blessed it, but it's kind of, I guess I let it get to myself too much. Is that what you think I did?
Yeah, I mean, you just you here's the thing that we do, and I've done it too. We all do it. Okay. It's just I just don't do it much anymore because I know the detriment it is to me. Every time we go back into a memory of something that happened, even whether it was years ago or right now, we're reliving our subconscious mind, our imagination, everything can't tell the difference between what's happening right now and what happened before. It just can't tell the difference. So emotionally and at a subconscious level, every time we look back at it and think it over and rehash it, we're just reliving it again. So think of it as those grooves in the record. We're just adding another groove to the record that's repetitive of what it is that we don't want. Or we can add grooves in the record that are repetitive of what we do want. So you just, and that's okay. Again, it's one of those things. Gave it too much attention. Gave it too much focus. That's why it spilled over into your golf game. Your golf game had more to do with last night or whatever, whenever you had that dinner with these folks. And for some reason, and that's what I have to tell myself all the time, I don't freak out and worry about it. I have to go fix it. Is if something goes on in my life and it's not what I wanted as a result, like a situation like you talked about with those people, then I have to look to where did I cause this to happen? Because I could have physically chose not to be at that dinner, but I chose to be there. Why was I there with this group of people talking about this thing? Was I being, and again, I don't go too deep, but it's like I can do one, I can try and figure it all out, which what I prefer to do is what I refer to as just pivot. All right, as of right now, I'm going a different direction because this sucks. I mean, I don't want to focus on it. So it's like, okay, whatever happened, happened. Hey, God, obviously I've done something and I've been in a vibration that allowed this stuff to happen to me. As of this moment right now going forward, I ask you to forgive me, help me forgive myself, help me to forgive everybody involved, help me to show more love, appreciation, and gratitude in my life. And let's focus on what it is that you would have me do, with so I just go change it. I don't try and figure it out anymore because our subconscious forgets nothing. Our every memory that we have it doesn't actually get wiped out or disappear as we reprogram ourselves. We just choose which program to run. And one program will be more dominant than the other over time. It'll become more natural. That's what the subconscious mind is there for. And the other one will fade into the background unless we give it a reason to come back up again. But
Yeah.
a lot of people try and figure out their past. And what you do is you relive your past. So you reinforce your past when you do that.
And actually, you're right, because what I did right at the beginning, before we even teed off on the first tee, is I told one of the women that I was playing with about what happened
Yeah. And why did
that
you?
evening. So
Yeah.
I brought it back up. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. And I'm being facetious a little bit, right? But it's like now that you know that, why would you ever do that again?
Right.
Because it's habitual, because it's how the world does it, right? We feel the need to express. That's why when sometimes somebody will start sharing, like, okay, here's what's going on, I'm less curious or concerned about what has gone on in the past or even what went on 5 minutes ago. I'm more curious about where do you want to go to from that here. Okay, here's how we chop that off and go forward. And let's get in the habit of our dominant thoughts and feelings being in the direction we want them. Now, here's the cool thing. The better you get at this, the less frequent stuff like you just talked about will happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I know, now I can understand why it happened like that today, because in between those two time frames, everything was fine. So I brought it back. You're absolutely right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, very welcome, Francine. Anybody else? Questions or comments that I can
Yeah,
hear?
hi, this is Rich.
Hey, Rich.
Yeah, comment on what the young lady was just saying. Uh, Basically, a lot of times I will try to look for the positive out of things and stuff. Like for example, maybe on the first situation with the people that you know that had opposing viewpoints, feel that um well, the people that had opposing viewpoints could kind of say, thank you, Lord, that I've been enlightened, that I don't have those particular views. And sort of try to think of something you can do to maybe turn the what seems to be a negative thing into something positive. As an example, I guess about 3 or 4 years ago, I was involved with a group where we meditated at the end of the meetings, and at the woman's house we were at, about 2 minutes into the meditation, her dishwasher started pinging about once every 20 seconds, I guess basically to say that, okay, everything's dry. And for the first couple minutes, it was aggravating to me. But then I said, oh, okay, how can I turn this around? So I kind of changed it and told myself, okay, with every ping, I am going deeper and deeper into meditation, sort of like a hypnosis type thing. And I had one of the best meditations I ever did. So anyhow,
That's pretty cool.
so I took something that was negative, but then I rethought it to turn it out from being quite negative to quite positive.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Rich. You know what
Sure, Kevin.
what's really cool is, again, we're going to make up a story. We can't help it. We don't really stop thinking. I mean, we meditate, right? We can try and and that's some of that goal, to slow it down, calm it down, but we still are going to make up a story. So if we're going to make up a story, make up one that serves us, rather than hurts us. If you got a choice, if you're going to make up a story anyway, if you're going to write a book, if you're writing a book, write a book that turns out well. Write a book that gives you the ending, the beginning, the middle, and the end you want. I mean, we get into these movies and books that are kind of fun and the good versus evil and all this other stuff, right? But we could write a book that would still be engaging, that could be all good and still be engaging if we want to. So why don't we do that with what we tell ourselves? We don't need to create drama for ourselves. And if something pops up that we don't care for, be willing to say there was something going on with me that created that. Be willing to take ownership of it. Don't justify. Don't try and tell Coach Kevin, but okay, because I already know how this works. I already know it's a reflection back. That's what it is, even for me. It's for every human being. It's a reflection back. The first thing you ought to do is go, okay, I don't like it. Don't focus on the don't like. Pivot. So what is it that I do want? And then go down that direction and start telling yourself a different story and use your imagination and come up with new assumptions. You know, we talked about that in the power of awareness. The power of assumption is huge. So assume what it is that serves you. It makes your life better. So thank you, Francine, for sharing what you did and the aha you got. And thank you, Rich, for sharing. That's actually kind of cool that you thought of that actually came to you in the middle of doing that. That's really cool. All right. Anybody else want to share anything or ask any questions? Or I could share what I was waiting to share. Hey.
Hi, Kevin. It's
Hi.
Takira.
Hi.
I love that you guys talking about this. I just shared it with the group that there's an affirmation song, and he literally says, you know, I need to have positive feelings. So I need to have positive thoughts to have positive feelings to have a positive life. And that when people come with the negativity, you just gotta like block them and say, you're perturbed, that's you, I gotta go this way. So I shared it with the group. It's about 4 minutes. It's a little rap or whatever you
Awesome.
want to call it.
Yeah, awesome.
But I love it. It's really, really helpful. And I've been doing a lot of chilling. I had a little bit of a backache due to menstrual cramps as a woman. Oh, Jesus. But I totally turned it around. Normally I would soak in that, stay in bed, all that. But no, I got up, I got in the tub for an hour, I soaked, I did my meditation, my affirmations. I thank God for what I have. I kept my vibration very high, and I felt better. I got dressed. My hair was done, but it's not anymore. And it's not. I put
It's
this.
okay. We're okay.
So I look presentable, but it's
mine
not
either.
happening.
I know mine's a mess.
So, but the Lord said,
Kevin.
you know, our beauty is not from the outside anyway. Our beauty is from inside. So, and I like that you told me before, don't focus on what you're saying or what you look like, focus on the words that you're speaking. So I'm not so pressed about, oh my God, how do I look? How do I sound anymore? I'm much more confident and my values are much more different. When I was chilling, like I told you, all these doors are opening. I got on the phone with my coach today about my business and I was worried about a substitute. The Lord told me, contact Shawana Russell, this woman I used to teach with. And I just sent her an email and I said, hey, can you be my substitute? I'll pay you for your time. You don't have to do much. You just want your name as a substitute. And I feel like all good. Like the action is inspired and I just see everything coinciding, but it's only because I'm not focused on the negative. And I hope everybody can get that from the group. Like, yeah, we want money, but you need to keep your vibration high. You need to be around people that are like-minded so that you could stay wealthy, because if not, it'll go away just like that. When I was in a bad vibration, I manifested a check, but it was for 11 cents, Kevin. And I was laughing like, I get it, guy. You're trying to let me know it could have been 11,000 or more if you keep yourself together. So it's funny how our vibrations coincide with what we receive. It's just all really like aha for me every day now. And I just really am thankful for this group, for the stuff I'm learning. taking it step by step with my business. I even heard a preacher last night. He said, you don't need speed to accomplish goals. You need stamina. You need persistence. And that's what Neville told us, persist in the assumption until it's true. And I just feel good. I even have a book and I have it titled as Kevin Says. So it's Kevin says, whatever Kevin says. And when things happen throughout the day, I'm like, what did Kevin say? Kevin said to do this. So I'm taking notes, but try to get the money too. But I feel like it's coming. It's on its way.
Cool.
I have my housekeeper set. I'm very happy. But I also wanted to ask you, with manifesting and visualizing, I can't do it for 5 minutes. I do it for 1. I sit in my bathroom and I ask my heart, what do I want? And I close my eyes and I say, I want this loving relationship. I have it. He's walking in my house right now. He's kissing me. And I feel that for 60 seconds. Am I on the right track?
Just do it. Here's what I would recommend that you do. It's, yes, there's, you'll get better at longer times. When I say like, because you're focusing on the one thing, if I'm walking through a house or something, my house, well, it takes me more than 60 seconds to walk through my house. If you're doing something that only takes 60 seconds, that's fine. It's the repetition, and it's referred to as space repetition. So in other words, go do that 20 times a day then for 60 seconds. You know what I mean? And now you just did 20 minutes. It's cumulative, but the whole idea, it's not you ram a whole bunch at once like you just talked about. It's the space repetition of it. Like you can't repeat, well, okay, it will help. But if you go one day and you repeat something 1,000 times, you're better off going 100 days repeating it 10 times a day. But if you have the time to do the 1,000, that's okay. And it actually can be helpful. There are times when you may really want to write something out 100 times in a day or speak it 100 times or whatever, right? But what you're doing, just the repetitiveness of it will work for you. So that's fine.
No, that is fine.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome. All right, I'm gonna, and then we can come back to Q&A in a second. I want to share something that could be helpful for some of you. Okay? Maybe all of you, I don't know. But something told me share this, so I'm going to. So I've been, as you guys, well, maybe you know, maybe you don't know. Okay, but I've been an entrepreneur and business person for a lot of years. So I've got law of attraction, and I also have a decent amount of what others would consider practical skill. And sometimes God points to something practical that we know and says, share this too. Some of you guys are saying to yourself, and that's fine, because that's on the surface, this is what it looks like. I got to come up with $5,000 if I want to be coached by Kevin. This is a, for instance, what I'm going to share with you could be used for other things too, okay? So if you're not interested in coaching, this still may mean something to you. But this will definitely help. I believe some of you guys go, oh, I hadn't thought of that. And granted, that's why God, I think, is asking me to share this, because it's part of how I've thought at different times and helped me out to come up with money or whatever to do what I wanted to do. Because I don't look at money the same way as maybe some of you guys do. And I don't look at debt quite the same way either. Again, because of my experience over a lot of years, not just a couple of years, over a lot of years as an entrepreneur and as a business consultant to other people in their businesses. I'm going to take something simple and I'm going to use the example of $5,000 for coaching. Okay. And share something with you that I think can be quite helpful. And you'll know why this will work and why it would be helpful in a moment. See if this pops up for me like I want it to. Let's talk about a credit card here for a moment. Okay. And I'm going to talk personally to Lily, and hopefully she's not offended by this. I'm going to do it because it's easier for me to share this as if I'm giving advice to someone. And this could be helpful to understand something here. If you were to take $5,000 for coaching on your credit card, see, I actually think of it differently, less than like, okay, now I've got $5,000 worth of debt. I think of it in the sense of, if I'm putting out money to improve myself, particularly in a financial way, how long is it going to take me to see some results? And that I don't necessarily know, but I can ask God about it. So I do. And to get his confirmation that this is a good idea. I don't always get, sometimes I just get the confirmation, Kevin, go do it and shut up. I already gave you the means to do what you want to do. Just because it doesn't show up in the package you want it wrapped in doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. So go do it. I gave it to you, go do it. But sometimes he'll be like, you know what, if you do this, you can kind of expect this. That's not always how I get answered. Okay. A lot of times it's, I told you, go do it. Okay. I gave you the thumbs up from heaven, and I already told you it's fine. Trust me to take care of you. But let's take the $5,000. You're thinking to yourself, I got $5,000 worth of debt I got to pay back. I would be thinking this, let's pretend that I've got a $5,000 credit card. Let's pretend it's not even my credit card. I'm going to pretend that this $5,000 credit card belongs to someone else even. Ooh, but they've got $5,000 available on the card and they care for me, because my friends may not have cash lying around either, or hopefully they do. You know, nowadays, the people I hang out with, it's more likely. Okay. But in the past, let's say that maybe they have access to credit, but they don't have cash lying around either. And I would have never thought to use it this way. But I could ask a friend, can I borrow space on your credit card? I want to borrow space. You've got a $10,000 balance. I want to borrow $5,000 worth of space. And I'll get it paid back, and I'll even pay you a bit extra. You know, if the credit card's percentage is 12%, you know what? I'll give you another, 3 to 5% or whatever. So let's take a $5,000 credit card, right? Well, 12% would cost me $50 a month. And then I probably have to pay about 1% of the balance, which would cost me another 50. So it would cost me $100 a month to make the minimum payment on the card. But I happen to have $1,000. Let's say I have $1,000, like cash, or I got a stock I could sell, or I could garage sale something. I just know I can't come up with 5,000, but I could come up with 1,000. Okay, terrific. So what can that 1,000 buy me on that credit card? That $1,000 can buy me 10 months worth of payments. Kevin's going to be coaching me for 6 months, and I'm committed to doing the work that he asked me to do. By the way, I already know, Lily, and this is why I'm bringing you up. God gave you $1,000. You're waiting for him to give you 4,000 more. What if he gave you $1,000 to cover your payment for 10 months on your credit card, so that you could get the training and within 10 months or less manifest more money in your life? So I looked, and so I went, as I was being kind of guided, and I typed in, payments and stuff on credit card, how minimum payments are calculated. Okay, an issuer will add up previous balances, the transactions you made during the current billing cycle, accrued interest to calculate your statement balance. Then the issuer generally uses one of two methods to calculate the minimum payment. And more often, it's going to be the first one, because the second one is only if you were behind. Okay, so you're not behind at this point, and you should never be behind with what we're doing, because the help you're going to get. So this is essentially how they're going to figure it out. Flat percentage. Some credit card issuers calculate the minimum payment as a percentage of your total statement balance, including interest and fees, usually between 1 and 3%. For example, say your minimum payment is calculated at 2% of the balance, which is $5,000. You would have a minimum payment of $100. And if that was a 12% card, here's what would happen. $50 would go to interest and $50 would go to principal. The next month, now you only have a $4,500 balance. You see where I'm going with this? Here's the other thing why you wouldn't necessarily borrow 5,000 from a friend, but if I share this with you differently, you might be like, oh, that makes sense, I could. You're thinking I got to pay back $5,000. I'm thinking, what am I going to learn from my coach that's going to help me make more money? I only have to come up with $100 a month to make the payment. Oh my gosh, there's got to be something on planet Earth I could do every month for the next 6 months where I can come up with $100 a month. So I'm going to go ask Uncle Joe, not for money because he doesn't have it, or maybe he does. I'm going to ask to use space on his credit card. The other thing you could do is if you had $1,000 and somebody else had space, is say, look, I want to use $5,000 worth of space on the credit card, and I'm going to give you $1,000 in cash right now to cover the payments up front for the next 10 months. We're going to put 100 towards it every month for the next 10 months. And now you bought yourself the 6 months time to be coached, and you bought yourself an additional 4 months to truly make something happen. And honestly, if you even ask the people that I just started coaching already who haven't even been together with the group, every one of them has already manifested way over $100. Some of them have manifested thousands, and we haven't even really got the group going yet, just because they've done the homework I've been assigning them while we've been waiting to get the group started. So I'm sharing with you with this because this might not be how you think. It's okay because you don't have my experience. But God said, share some of your experience today, because there's somebody out there that they're thinking they got to come up with 5,000, or they're scared to borrow it because they think they got to pay back 5,000. Well, ultimately, yes, you do. Okay. But you don't come up with it now. You got to come up with $100 a month. Or if you're at a 0% interest rate because you got great credit on your card, you're actually going to come up with 1%. It's going to cost you $50 a month. $50 a month to get trained. And you don't think at the end of 6 months or 10 months or whatever that the training you receive would allow you to continue to make $100 a month payment, or allow you to just pay it off in full? So anyhow, I wanted to share that. I don't know who this was meant for. Again, I'm playing with Lillian a little bit here because she's right sitting in this situation where this is 100% available to her. But anybody have any questions or comments about what I just shared? Yes.
I have a question. I love this idea, and I completely agree with it. What if you don't have access to like a credit card or anything like that?
That's not your card. It's not your card. It's somebody else's.
What if you don't know anybody who would let you borrow space on their card?
Well, that's what you think. That's when I borrowed $38,000 years ago. 38,000. All I had was a business plan that I shared with someone. And ultimately, the business plan didn't work out. So what happened is the business totally went a different direction, and I paid the 38,000 off. I had 18 months to do it. I had it all paid off in 2.5 months.
So I guess here's my other question. I have an opportunity. I have $1,000. I had an opportunity to learn from Bob Proctor, one of his proteges, that I don't have to pay. Well, I don't have to pay the full amount.
Yeah. Cool.
They'll just credit it to me. I'd rather learn from you because it's a much shorter amount of time, and I think the 6 months is much better. So I think I should just save that money and wait until I come up with it.
And what I'm saying is you should find a human being on planet Earth that has $5,000 available and say, here's my $1,000 to cover the next 10 months worth of payments, so that you don't have to stress out about me paying, so that your balance doesn't go up or you don't get behind or anything like that. And because you aren't using it for anything right now anyway, and it would really be helpful for me. So in
At this point, I mean, I don't know anybody yet at this point. Let's put it that way.
Exactly. The person who did it, the $38,000 for me, at the time, I made the decision I was going to come up with, 20 at the time. And then ultimately it was 38. It was another 18 so I could quit my job because I was bringing home $6,000 a month, 5 to 6 a month at the time. And I wanted 3 months runway. And then some of you guys have heard the rest of the story, but anyhow, the 20 is what I needed. I didn't have it, but this person loaned me 38 out of their retirement account. That's the other thing too. A retirement account will be a low interest rate, and it has a long period to be able to actually put it back. So people can borrow against retirement accounts. A lot of people don't understand, if you have a retirement account and it has, I'm just going to make up a number, you can borrow up to $50,000 or half of what's in the retirement account. So if a retirement account has 200,000, you can borrow 50. If the retirement account has 10,000, you can borrow 5. And the interest rate is really low, and your amount of time to pay it back is really long. So, and your money's not doing much. If any of you think you're going to have a retirement account with $200,000 or 100 or even $300,000, and you're going to retire for the rest of your life on your retirement account, you're kidding yourself. It's not going to happen. So you're going to have to do better than that anyway in your life. But if a lot of people don't understand that, and what they do is they can borrow from their retirement account at 3, 4, 5%, but they constantly go to the bank and get signature loans for 12 or 18%. They should use their own retirement account money instead. There's no penalty for doing it when it's borrowed that way. So again, a lot of people don't have cash lying around, but they've got retirement accounts that have gone up and down and everything else. And to your point, yeah, you could go hire whoever, whatever. And I totally get that. Stephanie said the other day, which I knew it didn't matter to me. It had to matter to her. She's like, yeah, there was somebody that was, available to coach me for whatever, and it was going to be 2,500 versus 5,000 I was asking. I don't know. I mean, we just gotten started, Stephanie, but do you think it was worth the decision you made?
Absolutely. I've had you and I talked yesterday, and I'll share with the group. It's a little personal, so I'll keep it vague, but I was literally in tears yesterday because something that's been weighing on me for 3 years, that's very important to my job and career, outside of the work that I'm doing with Kevin, started manifesting. Well, let's see, I started the process about 4 to 5 weeks ago, and it can take anywhere from 3 months to a year. And the first step is occurring tomorrow. It's a stressful step, and I talked to Kevin about it, and he gave me a beautiful prayer, which totally relaxed me. And I'm just going with the flow, Kevin. And yes, it's been completely worth it. And I had no hesitation, even though it was double what the other person was offering, which was also based on Bob Proctor's guidelines. Thanks.
You're welcome. And as much as I've been trained by Bob Proctor, and I love Bob Proctor, and I think he's one of the best of the best of the best on the planet, the best coach for any human being is the one you vibe with. That's the matter of fact. Somebody asked Bob Proctor that. I was listening to Bob the other day, and somebody asked him the question, how do you know who's a good mentor for you? He's like, the one that you're getting results with. That's the one. There's a lot of people out there that don't have any results that are sharing and teaching and training. So they may not be it, but whoever you're getting the results with, that's the best one for you. So hopefully, I shared something that may help some of you guys accomplish what you want to do, because I would love to see, another 1, 2, or 3 of you join us in the group. And I would say if you intend on joining the group, you probably should have that conversation with somebody in the next day or two, because the group's starting up next week. It's going to be available morning and night. I'm doing something totally different than I've ever done before. I'm putting 4 times a week where you can meet with us as a group. So what does that mean? Maybe you'll be the only one on the call, or maybe you'll be there with 5 other people, because I'm going to do it Mondays and Tuesdays, 8:30 in the morning, my time, to 9:30 my time. So that's California time. And I'm going to do it Tuesday and Wednesday, 6 p.m. my time to 7 p.m. my time. I've never, ever, ever made it that open ever. But that way, that you're going to be able to attend something. And of course, I'm going to record what's going on too. So there really shouldn't be a reason why somebody couldn't do it for scheduling reasons. So, And I've decided that that's actually good because that sets me on a path moving forward. Whenever I do anything group related, I'll keep it within that kind of framework so that it's always available. But I know my hours, that gives me the freedom to go do what I want to do when I want to do it out other than those hours. So you can ask questions right now in relationship to the coaching and what I'm talking about, or you can ask any other question or share anything else you like, if you would like to right now. So anything that you'd like to share, any other questions you would like to ask, if you would like to do so right now, I'm open for that.
Well, if you're open for that, I'm just going to say that I choose to do, my choice is different. My path is different because that's my choice. You know, I've got enough. I'm kind of stressed out. This is nothing, really. It's going to be nothing. It's a citation from a stupid credit card. It was issued this morning. They just want a letter, you know.
Uh-huh.
That's all. I can do that.
Oh yeah, yeah. The other thing you can do, and so let me share something else right now with everybody, because you're not feeling particularly good right now. That's obvious. Okay. Don't necessarily try to go from feeling the way you feel right now to feeling great. Okay. What you do is you go to the next level up or two. So I don't have it on here. Somebody can look this up. What is it called? I've got it somewhere. I just don't have it instantly handy. But it's essentially the vibration that thoughts put you in. Esther Hicks talks about this, and this is actually really important. She says it really is, when we're in a situation like this, to go from really far down to way back up. Like, okay, I'm just gonna boom. So there's kind of steps of vibration. She said, and I'm gonna get these wrong a little bit, but like, guilt and shame is a lower vibration than anger. So funny enough, if you move into anger, you're actually at a higher vibration than you were when you were feeling guilt or shame.
That's unreal.
And then you kind of do that. And you know what? We've all kind of heard this stories too of somebody that actually has to get pissed off before things change.
Well, I feel like I'm the worst person on here.
No, not even. You're just another human being like we all are. There's no worse or anything like that. There's no worthiness or lack of worthiness or anything like that. Okay.
I beg money from my family just to survive. I know it's gonna change. I know it up here.
It will. It will. What help can we, myself or the others, give you right now?
Oh, I'm just grateful you guys are here and I could come in and just be myself.
Hi, Paula, if I can interject, I think I go through the same thing. We know we're human beings, so some days it's gonna be tough. We all have had those feelings. I personally, I give it to God. I literally say, you're my supplier. It sounds easier said than done, but you gotta, talk to God and tell him what you need. Cast your cares onto him. Don't let the enemy make you feel this, because, or if you do it 1 minute or 2 minutes, and then you move on and you think of what I can do. And the first thing is giving it to God. And if you have to, borrow, it's temporary. You understand? If you have to find another source of income, do what God tells you to do. Pay some tithes. When you give, he gives it back tenfold. I haven't been teaching in 10 months, but my rent is paid, my lights are on, everything is all good. People come and they bless me, it'll happen for you. But this energy is gonna not attract it. So be in this, but not too long. Don't feel pity for yourself. Know that it's going to change. Put affirmations up. Thank God for what you already have that's working. Replay the videos that Kevin shares with us. Go to Esther Hicks. You understand? Go one step at a time. Okay, you feel distressed. What's the next step up? Take a bath, dance. The results will change. You're not going to be in this. Your hair is done. Your earrings are on. You got makeup on. There's money. You're not broke. You're breathing. You understand? God is infinite and his ways are beyond us. So just take it in increments and work out a payment arrangement if you can, low as you can do. And just, you know, take it step by step, but don't beat yourself up. You know, we all love you here. And just don't be woeful, because God doesn't want you to feel that way. And the right opportunities will come for you if you just, you know, talk to him, and he'll direct your paths. So I'll pray for you, and I send you lots of light and love.
Awesome advice. Couldn't have said it any better. We got Coach Takira. Here we go. That's awesome.
She was,
Kevin, I
she
am
was
so-
meant to do that.
You got this hands down. I just felt led to tell her, because
You
sometimes
did.
I go,
I'm writing it.
yeah, I cry, and I just say, God, no. He don't want me to be crying. He's the Alpha and Omega. He is the source. He will bring somebody in your path to bless you. And if that person is giving you the money, thank them, you know, and say, hey, I got to borrow, but it's temporary.
It is
Bible says
temporary.
not
It's all
borrow.
temporary.
Temporary. Stand on that word. You got pretty earrings on. You have money. It's just, you got to find a way to get it to yourself,
There.
but you won't find it in despair.
Just
So
just right now.
yeah, just for this moment, Paula, and meditate and see yourself wealthy already. You're good, girl. I got faith in you.
I love you, kid. You're awesome. You guys are all awesome. All of y'all.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, Paula, a couple of comments. Basically, maybe in the morning, try to make a gratitude list. You know, I know there's a lot of negativity going on with you right now from what you've shared, but try to do a gratitude list in the morning. Like, for example, right now you're feeling down because you have to borrow money from relatives, but from a positive standpoint, you have the relatives, and you have the relatives that probably love you very much, or if they didn't care for you, they wouldn't be lending you the money. So that's you know, that's kind of like a very positive spin on that negative thing. And, you know, think about other things, like I see your flowers in the background and stuff. It looks like you have a decent place to live. You're not in a shelter or anything like that. So, you know, just sort of try to make a gratitude list in the morning, and that might help you feel better about yourself for the rest of the day.
And by the way, you're allowed to do a gratitude list anytime.
Yeah, anytime.
Right. One of the last piece of advice, and I think we'll go for today, is this. We don't always have the spiritual and emotional stamina to get through the entire day. Right? We start out, we're allowed to stop at any point in our day and rejuice ourselves up. Right? If your cell phone is dead, it don't work. Right? It's like, if it's dead, you can't say, well, I'm just not going to use it for the next 24 hours and then try and turn it on. If it's dead, it's dead. So maybe you won't get it all the way back up to 100 before you need to use it again, but take enough time to get it so you can make a phone call or send a text or do an email. The point is, unless it's your time of day to shut your tech off. So it's not about tech. I'm just giving you an example. If your cell phone's dead, or it's about to go, you can see that you feel like you're about to go dead, like your signal's just not really connecting right now, man, then go shut it off, plug it in, and juice it up. And at least put some more positive into yourself. Put it on supercharge positive, or if you can't do that, just put it on trickle charge. But even a trickle charge will take you higher than you are, so that you now can get through what you need to get through at the moment. All right. Thank you, everybody, for the time that you've taken to spend with us today. Good to see you, a little bit of a grin smile back on your face. Love it. And you guys are all
Thank you.
awesome.
Thanks, Kevin.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Kevin.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
You're all very welcome.
See ya.